The NASCAR Cup Series race concludes from Auto Club for the final 2-mile race at Auto Club Speedway, and we see Kyle Busch pick up his first win with Richard Childress Racing. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching the NASCAR Cup Series race from Auto Club Speedway, the Palo Casino 400. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So, at the start of the race, because rain basically canceled practice qualifying, the field will be started by the rulebook. So, at the start of the race, you have Cristobal lead the field from the outside, with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the inside, and Cristobal got the lead at the start. Then Joe Logano was able to make it 3 wide and was able to get the race lead. Then on the next lap, we saw basically Alex Bowman pass Cristobal for the race lead and got up front. Alex Bowman dominated the next early portion, and then on lap number 12, trouble strike for one of the drivers we thought was going to be contenders, and that is Kyle Larson. Unfortunately, had some engine problems and electrical issues and went to the garage many laps down. The first caution would come out for competition yellow that would come out on lap number 17. All the lap cars would come off pit road with Ross Chastain winning the race off pit road, and unfortunately, Mark Truex Jr. got an equipment interference penalty. So on the restart, you had Ross Chastain lead the field from the inside and Alex Bowman on the outside, and we saw Ross Chastain get a great restart. Then Joe Logano, about 7 or 8 laps later, got around Ross Chastain to take the race lead. Then a few laps later, Ryan Blaney was able to get around Joey Logano for the race lead. Then we basically stayed green for a very long time, and then the second caution came out lap 42 for Brad Keselowski, who spun off of turn number 2 after some contact from Corey LaJoie on the racetrack. He was spun out, bringing out the caution. All the up cars ended up coming down pit road with Ryan Blaney maintaining the lead, and Kyle Busch would get a speeding penalty entering pit road. Exiting pit road, I should say. Then we go back racing with Ryan Blaney lead the field from the outside with Ross Chastain on the inside, and Ross Chastain was able to clear for the race lead with Daniel Suarez getting up to second. Ross Chastain was able to pull away for a while. Ryan Blaney eventually gets by Daniel Suarez, but coming to the end at stage number 1, Ross Chastain would dominate, and he would win stage number 1. So all lead lap cars at the end would come down pit road with, I believe, Ross Chastain basically winning the race off pit road. And on the restart, Chastain led the field from the outside with Denny Hamlin on the inside, and Denny Hamlin was able to pass Ross Chastain for the lead. Meanwhile, Joe Logano got a really strong run and was able to get the lead off the run. Then this next caution came out lap 75 for AJ Allmendinger, who spun on the backstretch and hit the inside wall really hard, bringing out the caution. I think that was caused by Chris Buescher, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not entirely sure. Then all the lap cars would come down pit road, and there was a little bit of strategy where guys like Austin Dillon, Ryan Preece, and Noah Gragson would decide to stay out, with Joe Logano winning the race off pit road. Meanwhile, Mark Truex Jr. coming off of pit road would actually lose a wheel because the lug nut was not tight enough, and he would unfortunately get a penalty and would get a 2-lap penalty. So on the restart, Austin Dillon lead the field from the outside with Ryan Preece on the inside, and Noah Gragson was actually able to get a really strong run and got the race lead. Then a lap later, Joe Logano was able to get the race lead. Meanwhile, coming down to fresh stretch, Todd Reddick got into Corey LaJoie, spinning him out. I don't know what happened there, but Todd Reddick gets into Corey LaJoie, spinning him out, bringing out the caution. That was on Tyler Reddick. People thought it was intentional. It wasn't intentional, but put Corey LaJoie in a deep box. Then on the next restart, Joe Logano led the field from the outside with Denny Hamlin on the inside. And then the restart basically got stacked up, and we saw the biggest wreck in the history of Auto Club. Big checkup on the restart. Ty Dillon got turned by Todd Gillen on the restart, and also Ryan Blaney and Ryan Preece got turned, and a ton of cars were involved in the restart. This included Brad Keselowski, Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Justin Haley, Todd Gillen, Ryan Preece, Tyler Reddick, Cody Ware, and Ty Dillon would all fall out of the race. Then we go back racing after that issue. We went back racing on lap 93 with Joe Logano leading the field from the outside with Denny Hamlin on the inside, and Denny Hamlin was able to get the race lead. Meanwhile, Ross Chastain got a really strong run about 5 laps later and got around Denny Hamlin for the lead. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, who was recovering from the speeding penalty, he was starting to catch up to Ross Chastain, but then eventually got, I believe, into the outside wall and started following back. Then he had some guys get into the wall. Logano actually complained about a loose wheel, and then Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got in the outside wall twice, was able to keep going. Meanwhile, coming to the end of stage 2, Ross Chastain had about a 5 or 6 second lead over the rest of the field, and he would win stage number 2. So then we would go down to pit road, and Kevin Harvick actually won the race off pit road with Kyle Busch coming out second. So on the restart with 63 laps to go, you had Kevin Harvick lead the field from the outside with Kyle Busch on the inside, and we saw a 3-wide move where Chastain tried to get a run on the inside, but Kyle Busch was able to eventually clear and get the race lead. Meanwhile, down the front stretch, Austin Cindric got a little bit loose. Chris Buescher kind of caused Austin Cindric to get a little bit loose, and Cindric got on the outside wall after contact with Todd Gillen, but the race stayed green. Then, unfortunately, Ty Dillon had some electrical issues and some engine issues, and then the next caution came out with 59 laps to go for Ty Dillon, stopped in turn number 2, which I believe was the final caution of the race. Then all lead lap cars would come down pit road with Kyle Busch winning the race off pit road and Mark Truex Jr. getting back on the lead lap. So on the restart, the final restart of the day with 55 laps to go, you had Kyle Busch lead the field from the outside with Kevin Harvick on the inside, and we had a great restart where Ross Chastain was able to basically get the race lead. A bunch of big blocks were thrown, but Ross Chastain cleared the lead from Kyle Busch a lap later. Then we saw Kyle Busch basically lose a lot of ground, but he bounced right back and got up to second position. Then we basically came down to the point where Kyle Busch was catching Ross Chastain near the end, and they basically broke away, had the 2 best cars near the end of the race. Then with 35 laps to go, green flag pit stops would start happening, with Joe Logano being the first to come down pit road. Then a lap later, Kyle Busch and Ross Chastain came down pit road, Kyle Busch actually being the one to win the race off pit road, and Kyle Busch started pulling away. You had some strategy a lap later. Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, Corey LaJoie came in. Then the next lap, Chris Buescher and Todd Gilliland came in. Then you had Brad Keselowski come in, and Bubba Wallace came down pit road and unfortunately would fall out of the race due to an engine failure. After Michael McDowell was the last car basically to come down pit road, Kyle Busch took the race lead and started to pull away. Then it really came down to cat and mouse game between actually Chase Elliott, who was actually catching Kyle Busch near the end of the race, but at times Kyle Busch was pulling away. It looked like Chase Elliott was maybe have a chance, but Kyle Busch is able to pull away from Ross Chastain, and coming off the final corner, after all the offseason struggles and all the offseason absurdity, with Kyle Busch joining a new team, Kyle Busch comes off the final corner and picks up his first win of the 2023 season and picks up a pretty big win and gets the first of potentially many wins in the 2023 season. I am super stoked and excited that Kyle Busch won this race. I'm very happy for him. When he won this race, I cheered. I never would have thought I'd be cheering for Kyle Busch to win this race. But Kyle Busch had a really great car. And in the beginning of the race, he didn't have the best car. I think Ross Chastain did. But in the second half of the race and after that last pit stop in stage 3, he really became the fastest car in the race and was able to finally win. And there's been a lot of people thinking he was going to struggle this year. Man, he proved them wrong, and he's back in victory lane. His first win since Bristol Dirt in 2022. And like I've already said, I think this is going to be the first of many wins for Kyle Busch this year. So massive congratulations to Kyle Busch on finally picking up a win this year. And only in a second race, too, might I mention. And I picked him coming to weekend, too, because I thought this was going to be the year where Kyle Busch really takes off. And now he has 61 wins. He now holds the 9th position over Kevin Harvick. And now is only about 15 wins from Cashondale Sr. So I truly do believe this is going to be a big year for Kyle Busch. And for him to already win, I'm stoked, I'm excited, and I think this is the first of many wins for Kyle Busch. I didn't think it'd be this quick, but for him to finally win, massive congratulations to Kyle Busch. He deserved it, had the best car near the end of the race. So now we're going to go through the rest results of today's race, and then I'll give you my score for today's race. So Kyle Busch picks up the victory. Chase Elliott finishes second. Chase Elliott struggled in the early portion of the race, but a great comeback for Chase Elliott finishing second. That car seemed to be about a 5th or 6th place car near the end, but it got a good pit stop, came in a little bit later, has some fresher tires, and finishes second. Fantastic run for Chase Elliott at the end of the day. Ross Chastain finishes third. Great run from Ross Chastain. I think for the first 2/3 of the race, Chastain was the best car, led about 100 laps today. Unfortunately, for Ross Chastain, the car kind of fell off near the end, but still gets a really strong 3rd place finish. I think Chastain is going to be a championship contender. A great run from Ross Chastain in 3rd. How about Daniel Suarez bouncing back to finish 4th? Daniel Suarez had a speeding penalty and finished top 5. Great run, ran top 5 a lot of the day, had that speeding penalty like I mentioned, and still bounces back to finish 4th. Great run for Daniel Suarez. I think this is also going to be a pretty big year for Daniel Suarez. Kevin Harvick finishes 5th. Kevin Harvick put a lot of positions back. I think he had a top 3 or top 4 car most of the day. Great run from Kevin Harvick, carrying Stewart-Haas Racing once again because SHR was not that fast today. Great run for Kevin Harvick, though. He finished 5th. Great run for him. Denny Hamlin finished 6th. Hamlin ran about 6/10 most of the day, led some laps early, but kind of fell back, but still to finish 6th is pretty respectful. Great run from Hamlin, complaining about maybe the engine blowing up, but he still finished 6th. Good run for him. Brad Keselowski finishes 7th. Great comeback from Brad Keselowski. He ran top 10 a lot of this day. That 6 car was in the top 5 near the end, up there competing for the win at one point to finish 7th. A good start to the year for RFK Racing. They were fast in Daytona. I think this year Brad Keselowski is going to have a pretty big year with RFK. Great run from him. Alex Bowman finishes 8th. Alex Bowman was fast early. I think the car kind of fell off in the second half of the race. They were complaining they may not make it to the end on fuel. They were able to really recover near the end, but finishes 8th. Good run for Bowman. Austin Dillon, good strategy to get up in 9th. Good run for Dillon at the end of the day. Great day for Rich Schultz Racing in general. A great bounce back week for RCR. Good for Austin Dillon to finish 9th. Great run from him. Joey Logano finishes 10th, had 2 older tires in the rest of the field. That's what kind of cost him an opportunity. Yes, 1 lap of older tires can even cost you. He fell back to the field. Logano was a top 5 car all day, but he still finishes in the top 10. Solid run, all things considered. Mark Truex Jr., great recovery from him. Went 2 laps down, had a strong car, but unfortunately that 2-lap penalty for tire coming off cost him, but he still finishes 11th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes 12th. Is really respectful run from Stenhouse. Ran top 15 all day. That 47 car was a top 10 car and top 5 at one point. I really think the 47 team could have a pretty decent year. Good run from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at the end of the day. Chris Buescher finishes 13th. Pretty respectful run. Corey LaJoie finishes 14th. I want to give a shout out to Corey LaJoie. I didn't think LaJoie was going to run this well today, to be honest. Finishes in the top 15, finished in the top 15 at Daytona, 2 back-to-back top 15 finishes, which is a really great start to the year for Corey LaJoie, and maybe we're going to see Spire Motorsports take that next big step because they really do need to take that next big step. Great run from Corey LaJoie, a fantastic run for the Spire car. Harrison Burton, pretty respectful run at 15th place. Hopefully this year is better for him than last year because last year was disastrous. 15th is pretty good, all things considered. Good run from him. Ty Gibbs finishes 16th, ran top 20 all day, kind of struggled, was outside the top 20 of points. I'm expecting this year to be kind of a rough year for Ty Gibbs, but 16th isn't bad, all things considered. Todd Gillen finishes 17th, pretty respectful run. Michael McDowell finishes 18th. At least he led some laps today, but man, 18th after pit strategy cost him. 18th is a little frustrating for him. Eric Jones finishes 19th. Very disappointing run from Eric Jones. I thought Eric Jones was going to be a factor, and that 43 car was just not up to speed and not up to par today compared to what it was last year. So, disappointing run from Eric Jones. He finishes 19th. Chase Briscoe finishes 20th. Considering how bad they were off in the beginning, I'll take it. 20th is not a bad run, all things considered, for Briscoe. They can build on that, and hopefully they'll have a better run at Vegas. Just a frustrating day at the end of the day, though, for Briscoe, but only the second SHR car to finish in the top 20. Justin Haley finishes 21st, got involved in the wreck, got a lot of damage in that kind of cost him a good run. Noah Gragson led some laps early because kind of fell back and struggled near the end. He finishes 22nd. JJ Ewing finished 23rd. Not bad, all things considered, for a Ricker racing car. BJ McLeod finishes 24th, and I believe he only finished 1 lap down on the race, was on the lead lap a lot of the day. Maybe Live Fast Motorsports is going to take that next big step. William Byron finishes 25th. I don't know what happened to William Byron. He struggled near the end. That car just completely fell off near the end of the race in a frustrating run at the end of the day. Ryan Blaney finishes 26th. Had a great car early, led some laps. Unfortunate, though, for Ryan Blaney, he got some damage in that big wreck early that kind of cost him a run. He finished 26th. Cody Worth finishes 27th. Austin Earth finished 28th. Kyle Larson, after his engine troubles, he finishes 29th. It's a shame for Larson. He had a fast car when he was up there competing. He finished 15 laps down, but 29th is the best he could do, and he still got a top 30, all things considered. Bubba Wallace finishes 30th. Engine failure cost him. It's a shame because he was in the top 5 for the first half of the race at a good point and was up front at points, but unfortunately that 23 car just had engine problems and took him out. Ty Dillon finishes 31st, 32nd for Christopher Bell, 33rd for Ryan Preece, 34th for Tyler Reddick, 35th for Eric Almirola. AJ Allmendinger finishes last in 36th position. So now I'm going to talk about the overall race as a whole, and I'll give you my score for today's race and talk about Fox's coverage a little bit as well. So let's talk about the race itself. This race was not as good as last year's race, but for this race, I still think this is better than 2020, and I think it was a very enjoyable race overall. You had a lot of comers and goers. Maybe the end of the race could have been a little bit better, was a little more closer together, but you're going to have that sometimes, especially when long green flag runs happen. This is going to happen, but it was still a very respectfully, really good race and a great way to close out the tradition of Auto Club. I'm really going to miss this place. It sucks that this is truly it for it. I'll talk more about that in the Xfinity Series review later tonight, but I'm really happy for the track to have a really good end, and to see the guy who's the winningest driver of the track's history get it done is great. There was great racing throughout the field. I'm going to give today's race at Auto Club overall a 9 out of 10. I thought it was a very solid race overall. There was great racing throughout the field, and in my opinion, it was a pretty strong race from the get-go. I really enjoyed it, and it's a 9 out of 10 for me. Actually, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Pretty good race overall. Wish the ending was a little bit better, but still a 9 out of 10 is great, and it was a very respectful race at Auto Club. Now, let's talk about the Fox coverage. Disappointing once again. They started off good. They went 17 laps, had a full screen commercial to the competition caution. Then they had a bunch of full screen commercials. And then basically they had no energy in the booth. There was no excitement in the booth and energy. I want to see some excitement and energy in the booth once again because they started off good. They didn't have any full screen commercials really near the end, which I appreciate. Well, until 40 laps to go. But the broadcast needs to be better in my opinion. It was a little disappointing. It was a little frustrating to watch, to be honest with you. I wish it was a little bit better, but that's just my honest opinion. So, that is for today's special NASCAR race review from Auto Club. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below with that, and combo your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts about Kyle Busch winning at Auto Club? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts overall on the race as well. Later tonight, we'll have the NASCAR Xfinity Series race review from Auto Club as well. Tomorrow, I should have a NASCAR news video on the channel, but depend on how late the Xfinity Series race gets done. If it gets done early enough, I should have an Xfinity Series review up on the channel, and also should be able to have the news video out tomorrow. So a lot of content on the way that I think you're going to be excited about. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.